Want to say good morning to Congressman Scott Desjarlais. Congressman, how are you? Are you in Washington, D.C., or back home in the great state of Tennessee?
I am in Washington, D.C., getting ready to do some appropriation bills this week.
All right, very good. Well, I want to play you some audio from Kevin McCarthy, and it's what he said about, of course, we all know what he said about, the future of the investigation heading into the Hunter Biden situation. And this is what he said about, the future of an impeachment inquiry.
Well, what I've said is if they withhold information, impeachment inquiry allows Congress to have the apex of power to get all the information they need. All this information people are finding out now is only because Republicans have investigated. The people of America have a right to know what went on. You have a president who lied to the American public so they didn't get any money from China. We know that's true. We've had whistleblowers from the IRS come say the Biden family was treated differently and that other things were going on. And then you have a informant with the FBI saying there was a bribe.
So one of the questions, Congressman, a lot of folks are asking is, okay, so you start the impeachment inquiry, if that is indeed what happens. Then it's going to go to the Senate, where there's no way in heck that the Democrats will convict Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and so forth. There's no way that's going to happen. So, some people are very skeptical in saying, well, this is going to be a big old nothing burger. Nothing is going to happen. I've got my opinion on this, but what say you?
Well, obviously right now, if it goes to the Senate, it's going to look like a political exercise, just like the two Trump impeachments were. And it doesn't seem like it would have much of a chance of succeeding in the Senate. But that being said, look back to Richard Nixon, who was in a similar situation and, of course, resigned rather than be impeached. If the investigation does reveal that Biden indeed was taking bribes from China or Ukraine or other countries, then I think Senate Democrats would be under a lot of pressure to at least investigate it thoroughly. So as these whistleblowers come forward, shedding new light on the situation, I think that the inquiry would do what the mainstream media would not, and that would be actually report on the facts.
Yeah, and one of the things that I said earlier, Congressman, is, all right, so this is me talking, a conservative, but the Republicans in the House, I think that they do owe it to the American people and certainly to their party, but more broadly to the American people to begin this this inquiry, because, frankly, that is the right thing to do. Then if the Democrats in the Senate decide to do the wrong thing, well, that's on them. And as far as the media goes, I mean, they're, as you indicated, they're not reporting on this really at all. And there's so many different levels to this. There's so many branches to this, because there's the bribery. There is, of course, the lies of Joe Biden, because, as you know, we have talked about how, the president has gone from, I never spoke to my son about his business dealings. Now they've pivoted to, well, the president never worked with Hunter Biden in his business dealings. And I'm sure that at some point they're going to pivot again to define what is work, right? So, I mean, there's, and then you have the DOJ and their attempt to, block the IRS from investigating Hunter Biden thoroughly and bring those more serious charges. I mean, there's so many different parts of this storyline. I don't know. Do you think people are starting to get overwhelmed by this, or do you think most folks are able to keep up?
It is getting confusing because, first of all, we had the Hunter Biden laptop, and, there were lies told leading up to the last election. There was basically interference by the DOJ and FBI in an election, a real interference, not the type when they were using false allegations against Trump to interfere in an election. But in this case, they actually had hard evidence of an issue that they covered up or hid or suppressed. So it is kind of mind-boggling, because ultimately, does anyone really care that much about Hunter Biden? We care more about the leader of the free world and what he may be involved in and who he may be beholden to. But what unfolded yesterday with Hunter Biden's story is really interesting, where apparently somebody from the Biden family law firm called this judge, who this morning is supposed to rule on the plea deal for Hunter Biden to get the 2 misdemeanor charges and basically avoid the felony gun charge. She was told that there was an operative from the Republican conference calling that they did not want the amicus brief information included in the consideration for today's hearing. And, the judge apparently is pretty ticked off that they tried to dupe her. And so that'll unfold later this morning. It's unlikely that she would not take the plea deal, but they always like to tout, they being the DOJ or FBI, we can't comment, there's an ongoing investigation. Well, this clearly is still an ongoing investigation as whistleblowers come forward and new information is being shed. So why is this deal being cut now before all the information is in? That would, reek of special treatment for the Bidens. And so, yes, it is dizzying, but, I think that the dam is breaking and there's a lot of information that's going to be coming out here over the next few weeks.
Congressman Scott Desjarlais joining us. And you're right. I mean, I can hear the chuckle in your voice with this whole story that we've been covering all morning long. Hunter Biden's lawyers calling the clerk's office, claiming to work for the Republicans' attorneys, asking that these filings be removed. And the filings, the amicus brief filings, what I think it's abundantly clear what they wanted removed was the IRS whistleblower testimony. And they're saying, Hunter's lawyers are saying, oh, this is just a misunderstanding. And the judge and the clerk both are calling BS on that. And some folks saying that this is, a sign of desperation amongst Hunter's lawyers. But again, we'll have to see if said judge, who is angry this morning, will actually accept the plea deal, because a lot of people are saying she doesn't have to. Congressman Scott Desjarlais is joining us. Congressman, coming up next. There seems to be this debate within Republican circles, conservative circles, regarding Hunter Biden and all of this. And the question is, amongst conservatives, should there be a special counsel appointed in all of this? James Comer and others say absolutely not. Let us do our investigation. Would anyone even trust a special counsel at this point that would be assigned by the DOJ? And I can see both sides on this, but I will say, and then I'll let you have your say, but I will say that James Comer, Jim Jordan, doing a really good job so far in their investigation. So I don't know, is there a need for a special counsel in all this?
I don't think we're ready for one just yet. It seems like that just wanders in all directions and doesn't stay focused on the task at hand. Plus, it can take, as we found out, years and cost a lot of money. Right now, our job is to try to get as much information out to the public as we can. And I agree. I was talking with Jim Jordan last night before votes, and as many things as we have going on with Secretary Mayorkas and the failures at the southern border, to Christopher Wray and the FBI and the stonewalling that we're seeing from these agencies. Even Jim Jordan said last night, it seems like a Biden impeachment inquiry probably should be at the top of our list because of the fact that he's clearly lied about his son's business dealings, and the fact that they're suppressing the IRS whistleblowers, or the IRS whistleblowers are saying that their investigation was suppressed by the DOJ and the FBI when they wanted to look into bank records and things that would have been very important to the investigations at hand. So I think what Jordan was telling me last night was that this is a pretty hot potato right now, and there's a lot of evidence and a lot of people that are coming forward with information that's very relevant. So I would agree with you. I think let Comer and Jordan continue down the path they're on, and then if Speaker McCarthy wants to go ahead and open up the impeachment inquiry, yes, it's going to be called a political exercise. But as long as we can deliver substantive information to the public, then I think it's certainly worthwhile and necessary.
You speak a lot with the Democrats. One of the things that I believe is that the Democrats in the House of Representatives, probably in the Senate as well, I think that privately the Democrats are crapping Twinkies. I'm just going to say that because of the fact that you've got the situation going on with Joe Biden. And so when you speak to these folks, are there what's the right way to say this? Maybe off the record conversations? Are they maybe elevator talk, like, the Democrats realize that they have a problem, but they can't say it publicly?
I think that there definitely is. You can look at Joe Biden and he's not confident. I don't know if you caught Sean Hannity last night, had Robert Kennedy Jr. on and was just directly asking him after showing a reel of all Biden's blunders and failures and missteps. whether or not, that he thinks he's competent. And Kennedy kind of dodged the question, but I get the sense that Biden's not their guy. And it's really interesting with this whole investigation. What are we running out the clock to a certain extent? Because if we get rid of Biden, then you have Kamala Harris. But, this all leads up to the next election next year and who the Democratic nominee is, who the Republican nominee is, and, how this game is being played, because it often does feel like a game up here in terms of timetables. We all kind of know truths, but it's hard to get them out. It's hard to prove them. And, the Democrats, in my mind, don't really want Joe Biden. They're like us. They want somebody that can win. And if Biden is the best chance for them winning, they might leave him there. But I just don't see how that guy makes it to be their nominee, considering his health issues, his mental issues, and now all of his legal issues.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure you caught the story where the president, I'll play the audio here in a bit after the 7:30 news, but one of the things that Biden did yesterday, as I'm sure you know, is he claimed that he has cured cancer. So every day, you hear not only Hunter Biden news, but you also, there's another gaffe a day from the president. One of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about, since we're sort of veering into, presidential politics, is Mitt Romney and Chris Christie. So both of them, and I did discuss this at length yesterday, but I want to get your thoughts on it. These two, there's no other way to say it. They're presidential losers, right? So they come out and they say, well, what needs to happen is all of the anti-Trump candidates need to basically drop out and throw their support behind one candidate who, whether it's Ron DeSantis or Vivek Ramaswamy, they're saying that that's what we, as in conservatives and Republicans, need to do to defeat Donald Trump in the primary so that we can get a winnable candidate for the general election, a candidate that can win. I'm not one to be really inclined to take political advice from Mitt Romney or Chris Christie, but you got any thoughts on that?
Well, it is interesting that it's those two speaking up. They clearly have a big problem with President Trump, and I guess I guess it shouldn't shock me, but we are in July, the year before the presidential election. This is the time where people are, kind of trying to put themselves out there, trying to gain recognition. Vivek, he's moved into third place. He's an articulate guy with a lot of good ideas. And this is where we kind of thin the field. And, we're supposed to have a debate here next month. That seems early to me, too, but it actually, that might accomplish what Romney and Christie are doing. Put the candidates on the stage. Let's see who draws the attention of the American people, and, start narrowing the field down. We don't need 15 or 20 candidates. We need, 3 or 4 or 5 top candidates to kind of share their message. And then as we move into next year and get ready for Super Tuesday in March, hopefully by then the field is narrowed and we're looking at, probably 2 to 3 people that have a chance. And so, they're panicking already over Donald Trump's polling and his success. Obviously, he's still very popular. He's being attacked at every angle. I think the more they try to charge him, the more that inflames his base. And, but you're right. Romney was a big-time presidential loser, and Chris Christie, I'm not sure what his game is, but they seem to desperately be seeking attention.
All right. Congressman Scott Desjarlais, as always, thank you for joining us here on Nashville's Morning News.